Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to be showing you how to put your collars and your cuffs on your clothing. I know that is a tricky one to do and a lot of people struggle with it, as did I when I first started. It does take a lot of practice and kind of a lot of little tricks in here and there to kind of get that going and feeling strong about it. So if you want to learn how to do that, follow along. Okay, so first grab your neckband that you've cut out. You're going to fold it in half and meet up those raw edges. Just like this, and you're going to clip it in place, and then you're just going to go sew across this. Alright, so it will look a little like this. So now you're going to grab it, open it up, and you're going to fold it over. Wrong sides of fabric are facing each other, and now you're just going to start clipping that. So just go around and fold that whole piece in half and clip it in place. Okay, so now that we have that all clipped in half, we're going to quarter off this whole neckband. So what you're going to do is find that seam. You have it marked already. So now you're going to lay that flat and you're going to mark the equal side. So the other side of where you've already marked, which would be, if you lay it out flat, it's easier to do. So the other side would be right here. So you want to clip that there and mark it. So now you have those equal sides clipped and marked. So now bring those sides into the middle, meet them up in the middle, and then adjust that, and then adjust those clips so that you are marking those corners. So now you have 4 equal parts of this neckband. So now what you'll do is you'll go to your sweatshirt, and you are going to mark the middle of the front and the back. So just grab one of your clips or pins or whatever you have, mark the middle, and then mark the middle of the back. Alright, so now grab that neckband and we're going to find that seam and we're going to make sure that our raw edges are facing up. We're going to add that seam to the back of the sweatshirt. So just clip all of those together. Okay, so now the front and the front of that neckband, you're going to match them up and clip those together. Okay, so now you're going to grab your front and your back pieces and you're going to stretch it a little bit. So what I mean by that is you're going to grab the front and the back here, like I do. You're going to stretch it out until all of those edges kind of meet up equally. And then clip it where they in the middle. So you don't always want to go off the seam because the seam is not in the middle of those 4 corners. So do the same thing with the other side. So grab the front and the back pieces, give that neckband a good stretch until all of those layers match up like they are now, and then I'll just pin that in the middle. So now we have all 4 sides clipped, and it will look a little like this. Alright, so now we are going to grab some more clips and add them in. The more clips the better, it'll be easier when you're sewing. So grab 2 clips and stretch them and bring up all of those edges to meet up and then clip. So 2 clips, see how this is smaller, we're going to stretch it out until everything meets up and then clip in the middle. Okay, so again, grab your 2 clips, stretch it out until everything meets up, and then clip in the middle. Alright, so now that everything is clipped, it will look a little like this. You will see that the neckband is going to be smaller than your neck hole, and it's meant to be that way. We'll just stretch as we sew so that everything matches up. Okay, so when you're going to sew, just start in the middle of one of these clips. Make sure that all of those layers are equal and right on top of each other. So just kind of start going. Alright, so the trick to this is to go slow and to adjust often. So as you can see, here, that is way bigger than my band. So what I do is I give it a little bit of a stretch so that everything kind of lines up nice and flat, and then also, so I always have a little bit of tension when I'm making this, so that everything lines up equally. So a little bit of stretch, sew, stop, readjust, a little bit of a stretch. You don't want to stretch too much, because if you're stretching too much, it will look weird when you're done. So just enough stretch so that everything lines up good. Make sure all of those layers are being caught when you sew, and to do that you want to make sure that all those layers are right on top of each other. Alright, so make sure all those layers are right on top of each other, a little bit of a stretch, and sew. Sometimes the middle layer likes to hide underneath, so you want to make sure that you're pulling it out and making sure that you're going to be sewing that middle layer. Alright, so once you're done sewing that on, it will look a little like this. And the inside will look like this. Okay, so now that the neckband is on, we're going to add the sleeve cuffs. So I like to do this with my clothing piece inside out. So I'm just going to flip that inside out. And sorry, I forgot to record the part where I'm folding the cuff in half. But basically, as you can see here, I folded the cuff in half long ways, and then I'm just going to sew along that side with the raw edges. So both of those are folded in half long ways, and they're going to be sewn down the side where there's raw edges. Alright, so now that your cuffs are sewn up, we're going to grab them, and kind of similar to what we did with the collar, we're going to take it and we're going to fold it in half with the wrong sides of the fabric facing each other. So fold it up. So you can see there's 2 layers now here. And then I'm going to clip right there where my seam is. As you can see, that's where I sewed it together. Okay, so now I'm going to lay it kind of flat and mark that other side of that cuff. Okay, so now bring those 2 markings together in the middle and then mark those 2 sides. Okay, so now that's going to give us 4 equal parts of this cuff, and it'll look like this. Okay, so now we are going to quarter off our sleeve. So one of my markings is going to be right here where my seam is. So laying that flat, this will be my other side. Mark that. Okay, now bring those 2 together in the middle, and then mark those other 2 sides. Okay, so now we have 4 equal parts of my sleeve. Alright, so now we're going to match up those corners. So grab your cuff, and you're going to place it inside of your sleeve. Find my seam here and match it up with my seam on my sleeve. So take that cuff, raw sides of the fabric are going to be facing up. Stick that inside of the sleeve and match up those raw edges. Okay, now I'm just going to go around and match up all of those markings that I made with my clips. Okay, so now that everything is matched up, you can see that the cuff is a little bit smaller than my sleeve, which is normal. We're just going to stretch as we sew, just like we did with the neckband. So then just find a spot in between two of those clips. Make sure that all of those layers are right on top of each other and start sewing. Okay, so as you can see here, I'm just kind of going to stretch to make sure that those kind of all equal up. Not too much, just enough so that everything is nice and flat. Pulling all those layers, making sure that you're sewing all of those layers. Stop and readjust often, go slow. A little bit of a tug and sew, readjust, a little bit of a tug and sew. Alright, so now your cuff will look like this. Now you can turn this right side out. Okay, so cuffs are on and our neckband is on. So now all that's left is to do our waistband. So grab your waistband here, similar to everything else. Grab it, fold it in half, match up those raw edges, clip them in place. Okay, so now just sew across here. Alright, so I went ahead and sewed it just like normal. Grab that, fold it in half, and start clipping it in half all the way around. Okay, so now that you have this whole thing folded in half and clipped, we're going to quarter it off just like we did with our other cuffs. So find that seam, mark it, which I already have it marked here, lay that flat, okay, and then make sure that that's right at the side, and I'm just going to mark this other side here. Okay, so now that's marked, so I'm going to bring them to the middle. And then mark those other sides. Okay, so now we have 4 equal parts of this waistband, so you can see. And now we're going to quarter off our shirt or sweatshirt. So both of my seams will work as a marking for my sides. So I'm just going to mark the front middle and the back middle. And those ones will be my markings there. So now I'm going to add my waistband. So I'm just going to match up my side seam here with my seam on my waistband. Okay, so then go around and start matching up those clips. So my front clip with my front waistband clip, side clip with my side shirt. Okay, then back clip with my back clip of my sweatshirt. Okay, so now I have it all clipped on together, matching up those sides. Okay, so as you can see here, my sweatshirt is way bigger than my waistband. Totally normal. We are going to stretch it out and find that middle. Okay, grab other 2 clips, stretch, find that middle, clip, stretch, find that middle, and clip it. Okay, so now that you have that clipped, it will look a little like this. So a couple things you want to notice. As you can see here, there's little loops. You want to make sure that all those loops look equal. As you can see here, this loop up here is way bigger than all my other loops. So you want to make sure that all of your loops within your clips, between your clips, are equaling out. So if this loop is too big, I'm going to take it off, I'm going to stretch again, and I'm going to readjust so that that looks a little bit more equal. And that's important because that will make sure that your waistband is... Alright, so I went ahead and just sewed it because it's the same process as with everything else. Stretch and sew, stretch and sew. So it will look a little like this. As you can see here, I had to do more stretching for this one because it's just how the pattern is. And if you do a lot more stretching, it will look a little wavy like this, and you never want that on your neckline. So that's why I say be very cautious when you're doing your neckline, because you don't want it to look wavy. You want it to look nice and even like this. But at the bottom, it looks fine because that's how it's meant to be. Alright, and there you have it. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next.